Racing game, I've said it before, they either get involved because of family, they're involved because of blood, or they just have a love for the game and crawl under the fence at the racetrack. How did you become a jockey?
Well, growing up in Jamaica, my majority of my family was involved in horse racing. My father was a jockey, my uncle jockey, and it was something that we grew up amongst, so that's where I got my passion for horse racing, from Caymanas Park. And then when we moved to Florida, I still kept it up and started riding horses in Florida, and now I've been riding for 11 years. So,
how do you break in?
In Calder Race Course. My dad was is a trainer in Florida at the moment, so at the time I started, he got me into it and started teaching me from the beginning the basics, and then I started working for Dave Brady in Florida. And then about a year and a half after I started working, I became a jockey.
And tell us a little bit about how that happens, how you get your first ride. Obviously, you're working horses and whatnot. When and how is that decision made that it's time, okay, you're going in the gate this afternoon?
Okay, so my parents from Jamaica, my mom owned horses, my dad trained, and they continued that in Florida. And the first horse I ever rode, the name of the horse is Mr. Rajiv. He's my namesake, so I can't forget that. Yeah, so it was my mom's horse that my dad trained and named after me. So
was it really named after you?
Yes,
oh,
Mr.
Nice.
Rajiv.
So that was your first ride. Where'd you finish?
Fifth.
Fifth. And how long after that before you had your first winner?
It was in 2.5 months later. I had my first winner, my ninth mount. I was at Tampa Bay Downs, and there was a horse running with an apprentice that was riding in Gulfstream, and he didn't show up, so I asked the guy, please let me ride the horse. The horse's name was Pricedale Kid, and in February 2004, February 1st, and I picked up the mount and I won on that horse. So that was my first win, and then 2 weeks later, it was a Sunday, exactly 2 weeks later, I won on the same horse again. Pricedale Kid, so my first 2 wins was on Pricedale Kid.
Yeah, nice. So tell us a little bit about what happens when you go back to the jockey's room after that first win.
Oh, yeah, it was brutal. It's a tradition that when you win your first race, they tend to throw ice water on you and shaving cream or whatever they could get a hold of. And I had shavings in the top of my head from the paddock and dirt and everything. It was really bad. Egg. Yeah, I had an egg, so it was fun, though. I enjoyed it.
And talk a little bit about it. As you say, you started your career down in Florida. Now you're up in New York, and you're very successful up here. Currently, I think you're 5 or 6 in the standings up here at Saratoga, which is obviously one of the toughest meets in the country, if not the toughest meet in the country. So you're doing very well up here. What was the impetus that made you move from Florida up to New York?
When I was an apprentice, I was riding in Gulfstream when I left Tampa, and Angel Cadero had a lot of influence on bringing me here. He said he'll help me out to develop me into a jockey, and so I moved from Florida in April, and I went to Belmont, and he was helping me out a lot. Became my agent, and for a couple of months, and then I wasn't having the success or anything for the Belmont Spring meet because I was fairly young and not really ready to take on that. So then I went to Monmouth for the summer, and things started going really well as an apprentice for me that year, and started picking up a lot of business, winning a lot of races, and then that kind of parlayed into this circuit up north.
And talk a little bit about that. You say Angel said come, and he'll give you some mentoring, I guess, is the way to put it. But I'm always interested in jockeys, particularly when you move to a circuit like New York. Any sports, you kind of play up to the level of the competition. So when you move into a jockey colony, jockey room like here in New York, do you get some mentoring from some of the guys who have been around for years and years?
Oh yeah, even up to this day, after riding thousands and thousands of races, there's also guys with a lot more experience than you in the room, a lot of Hall of Famers. I'm fortunate to be riding amongst some of the biggest names and the best in the industry, and they'll still tell you, you know, help you out, and you can always learn every day. Every race are different scenarios, and the guys here, they're so helpful towards you, even though you're competing against them. It's just I think it's like a jockey etiquette thing that you know, they teach you, and everyone shares philosophies and their point of view on riding and all that. So it's always, everyone's always developing every day.
Yeah, talk a little bit about that. It is a competitive sport, so obviously you're out there, you want to win, they want to win, But as compared to some other sports, all have to go back to the same locker room at the end. So it's competitive, but there is a camaraderie as well.
Yeah, we're very competitive on the track, but people don't really know what a tight-knit community we are in the jocks room. I mean, us jockeys, we spend a lot of times with each other, a lot more times than we spend with some of our family. And we really take care of each other, and we're really a close-knit community. There's a lot of bond in the jocks room. So.
And I want to fold the related topic into that. I played this year in the Jockeys versus Trainers, Jockeys versus Horsemen basketball game. I saw you out there. That benefits the Permanently Disabled Jockeys Fund. You were also over doing karaoke for that. I understand this past week you were at the Michael Strait benefit down at Chianti as a guest bartender. Michael Strait trying to get a bionic exoskeleton, raising money for that, the injured jockey. And talk a little bit about, to the jockeys, how important those kind of charities are.
Well, the Permanently Disabled Jockey Fund is so important to all the jockeys that have been injured, and all the jockeys that might get injured, because it can happen to anyone out there. It's just a part of our job, and it can happen to anyone. It doesn't have to be the best jockey, the leading jockey, or the lowest on the list. It's anyone that's out there it can happen to. So to build this fund and to help these guys that are not as fortunate as we are at the moment, it's for a great cause, and we can only do it with the support of people that come out and to these events and participate as well, and help fund the fund. And in the case of Michael Strait, to get the extra skeleton that he needs to be able to walk, I mean, it's a great story. He's taken a few steps from being paralyzed and told that he probably never walked, so it gives him a great hope, and we're trying our best to get up to this money that we need. It's probably going to be close to 80 to 100,000 for this extra skeleton, but there's a lot of people. The West Point crew, they stepped forward and they gave us a big fund for it, and also these events that we're doing with the Chiantis, the bartender Chiantis, we're raising money, but it's going to a great cause.
It absolutely is. If people haven't seen this device, it's almost from Star Wars or something, but it is legitimate technology that's available today. A paralyzed person can kind of step into it, and it assists them to stand upright and walk. And again, we're talking in the neighborhood of $80,000, and Michael Strait trying to raise that. My local guy, he and his brother, also a jockey right from East Greenbush, right down the road. So we're certainly rooting for them to raise those funds. But again, you participated this past week, as did many of the other jockeys. Let's talk a little bit some nuts and bolts. Speaking of that, the basketball game, karaoke down at Chianti, evenings, or a lot of jockeys participating in the social events. Talk a little bit about how Saratoga is different, your day, from when the alarm clock rings in the morning to when you go to bed at night. How's it different up here from downstate?
Saratoga is a steady grind. It's 6 days a week for the 6 weeks or 7 weeks that we're here. It's constant. You have to try to pace yourself because there's so much going on, and you want to be able to do as much as you can do, but there's a lot of riding to be done too, and that's the more important thing. I'm basically here for the riding. I'm not really here for the festivities, but it's a part of it. There's a lot like the events, so we have to do that and stuff like that. But I'm gonna need a couple of days off after the end of the meet.
I understand you're a fan of fishing. Get any fishing up here?
I fished one time. I didn't get a bite, so I was pretty frustrated. I'm a saltwater fisherman, where the fish just jump on the hook. I can't go after them on that.
You're at the lake?
Yeah, I was at the lake, and I don't have the technique to fish at this lake.
And one more question I have before we get into some thoughts on a couple of the rides you have over the weekend. I'm always interested. We see the jockeys go out there. We know you work out horses in the morning, but then you're out there in the afternoon riding. Give us a little idea what the homework is involved, though, to get ready for the rides you have in an afternoon.
There's a lot of different variables into doing the homework. For example, if I haven't ridden a horse before, one of the things that I tend to do is go look at his replays. If there's something, especially when I read the form, if there's something that I want to see that the form might say got steadied here or there, and you go watch the replay, get to kind of have a feel of the horse. The replay tells you a lot. And also handicapping the race, you see who's got speed, stuff like that. Always you got to handicap the race, and then you got to think, well, certain jockeys or trainers, they have styles of how they like the horses run, and that can tell you how the race you think is going to play out. And then when the gate opens, something else happens, so you just kind of have to adjust. But you know, that's basically, you know, you just try to prepare, working the horses, get a feel for them, and when the gate opens, just let them run.
It's best laid plans. You have to go to plan B. But I'm always curious to know, because you know, talking to guys like Bailey and whatnot over the years, I know that to get to the top end of the game, there's more involved than just going out in the paddock and hopping on board. There is that homework, and not only in your horse, but also in the competition.
Yeah, I really believe, you know, you got to have a good idea of what to expect when the gate open, who you think going to have speed, because sometimes if you know the competition, you'll know what horses you don't want to get hooked up with early. If it's say, for example, if you see a horse 2 lengths in front, but he's a 50-to-1 shot, sometimes you kind of just let them go and expect them to come back to you, as opposed to if it's a 2-to-1 on the lead, you kind of want to maybe not give him too much of an advantage on you, or, you know, like a horse that you think has a good shot of winning. So I think, you know, you have to read the racing form, you have to know what to expect, the pace scenarios, and yeah, the racing form is the key for me, anyhow.
All right, let's get some thoughts on a couple of the nice rides you have over the weekend, and let's kick things off and take a look at the Travers, and actually take a look while we're talking about the Travers. Again, we'll take a look at that Jim Dandy. Number 7, Wicked Strong, gets it done. Rajiv was on Wicked Strong that day, has been on for the past 4 races coming into this as well. Wins the Jim Dandy. And Rajiv talked to Jimmy Jerkins. We were down at the Belmont. We interviewed him before the Belmont. We talked about the cotton in the ears. Cotton was in the ears again on this day. And again, you're seeing Wicked Strong, the number 7, hold off Toneless, number 4. The cotton in the ears seems to indicate to me that this is kind of an excitable horse. Do you get that feeling? And if you do, are there any tricks you use kind of post-parade and warm up to get him into the game and calm down a little bit?
Yeah, I try my best to keep him calm. He gets himself a little hot, so you don't have to do much with him in the post parade to warm him up, because he comes out there warmed up already. And you know, just try to get him there level-headed to the gate. If he's too wound, if he's too pumped up or whatever, you know, he might get excitable in the gate. And he's a high-strung horse. Riding him quite a few times now, and getting to know his personality a little bit, I think I've been able to adjust and get the best out of him. But you know, he still is the horse that he is, and you just got to do the best you can to keep him settled. Talk
a little bit about how the difference the blinkers made last time.
The blinkers went on with the intention to try to keep him focused and mostly get him to run true. Like in the Belmont, he ran pretty much what we call like running spotty. Like he would go and stop, and it didn't seem like he was just getting into a strong rhythm that we know he has in him. And in the Jim Dandy, he broke, let him push him a little bit, leaving there to get him into the race, and he was always pretty handy for me. So I think the blinkers, it's safe to say the blinkers did what we were hoping it would do, or what Jimmy was hoping it would do anyhow, and it seemed to step forward with it.
Very good. All right, we've got a couple of minutes left, but I did also want to touch on the Ballerina. Tomorrow you have Artemis Agritera. You haven't ridden this horse before, and so I want to go. It comes out of that really phenomenal 7-furlong win early in the meet-up here, so I think it's set up very well. And we talked with Dave Litvin before, and he was talking a little bit about the one post position. Just give us, this horse in particular, but just generally as well, the one post position, does that present problems?
As long as you get away good, I don't think it presents problems. For me, I don't really think about what negative can happen. I look at all the positives, and then I think that kind of parlays and always make it work out good. Like, okay, I'm going to break good from the inside, so I'm going to break good from the inside, and there's going to be no problems.
The old visualization thing, I like that. And again, talk a little bit about the fact that you haven't ridden this horse before. Have you had a chance to get on the horse in the morning? And if it's a horse that you haven't ridden before, what goes into preparing for that, talking with the trainer and whatnot?
Well, with this specific horse, I got a good look from her from behind last time, because I was on Irish sweepstakes, and who ended up finishing 3rd, and I was making a good run on the turn. I said, oh, well, maybe I got a shot here to win the race, and I cut the corner, and then I looked up, and she was just pulling away at will. So I watched her run quite a few times, so I'm pretty familiar with her, and obviously her last race was so impressive, and she did it very handily. So, you know, I'll watch the replay, I'll handicap the race, see what I think is going to happen. I'm quite sure La Verdad is going to go a little more than she did last time and whatever, but we got a good filly here and just give her a best shot of winning.
Yeah, we just watched the replay of that nice big win here on July 23rd, so she's going to be a player in that Ballerina tomorrow. A couple of live mounts in the grade ones, the Ballerina and the Travers tomorrow, and Rajiv, we wish you good luck. Rajiv Maragh, Jockey, riding up here in Saratoga, New York, the remainder of the season, and doing very, very well. Again, good luck on the weekend, Rajiv.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, we'll wrap things up for Racing Across America for not only Friday morning, but this week as well. We're here every Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday at 10 a.m. Don't forget the weekend programming continues. Handicapper support both tomorrow and Sunday. And I'm just checking off screen. Is the handicapper support at 8 o'clock tomorrow? 8 o'clock, I'm being told yes, because of the early post time. Tune in handicapper support at 8, down the stretch with Mark Casano at 9, and then on Sunday we revert back to the regular schedule. Handicapper support at 9. Steve Bick and I in here with Loose on the lead at 10.